Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy.
I had the. Did you guys shut up? What are you even growling at? You can see a cat.
He's wagging his tail like a cat.
I had whatever last night's game was.
That was Wild and...
Oh, yeah, Wild in Colorado.
Yeah, Navs.
It was tied after the first.
I know.
And then the Avs jumped on them, and then the Wild kind of came back, and then they buried them. It's too bad. I got two really good shooters in Minnesota.
I like
and
the
they
Wild.
were both at the start of the series like, we're not winning that. Don't even ask me if I can shoot the Stanley Cup. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, the Avs are a unit this year, but I don't know if I had to choose somebody that I'm rooting out of the West. I'm cheering for the Wild, but they're not going to make it out of there.
Oh, that didn't help. I don't think, Tank, I don't think you see what you think you see. I think it's something else.
It's yeah, but a lot of people thought that series was still going to go 7. But I don't know. This series could go 7.
Well, the Avs were supposed to do it last year too, or at least get to the final, and they disappointed. So
yeah, they're a really good team, really good organization. And then freaking Toronto, they're freaking. Oh, I can't believe they got the first round pick. And then the Sharks get the number 2 pick. I was like, no way. If the Sharks don't become a unit in the next 3 years, then that's bad organization on them. They need.
I don't know what happened to them. They were pretty good for the first.
They sold off, and then they restarted, and it looks like it's going to go great for them for the restart. But they do need some senior players in there to kind of back up the young guns. So, because they've had in the last 3 years, I think they went second pick, first pick, second pick, and I think in the last 6 years, 5 of those picks have been in the top 5. So it's just all right, you have been getting the right stuff. So they have young blood that's good to go. Man, they have the next Sidney Crosby on their team. So that Macklin Celebrini kid is really good. So yeah, whatever. We get the 7th pick, which I think last year we were the 6th pick. So I'm just oh, great. Get the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Never know. Might be able to trade up. Oh, I got to get your trivia ready. This one I got to write down. Popped up on my... Hey, can you not breathe?
Oh, did you see the New York Times put out the 20 best songwriters of all time?
No, I have not seen that.
It was as much of an abortion as Apple's.
If you asked me to guess those, though, I don't think I'd be able to get them. Just because...
I mean, the whole
or
list
were they all were they all popular people?
No. I mean, Rick Beato put it well. If you're going to put out the best list of all time, then it might be good to have at least one person with either a music background or a music education, and instead it's 3 writers. Excuse me, 3 writers with an English degree, 1 guy with a journalism degree, 1 guy who I don't know what Wesley Morris's background is, but I know he wrote for entertainment and sports at the Ringer, and now is at the New York Times. And he wasn't being a snob about it, Beato. He wasn't saying people without degrees or heavy music backgrounds don't have a established opinion.
Yeah.
But when one of the guys, so the backlash was big enough that the group of them decided to get, or half the panel decided to get on the New York Times podcast and defend themselves. And it just got worse from there. One of the guys who had an English degree was was someone sent in, leaving Billy Joel off the list is like leaving Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix off the greatest guitar list. I think it's a little overstated, but this guy was like, no, because Billy Joel's, he's whatever. And then the 2 other guys on the panel were like, I don't even like Billy Joel. And I'm like, Okay,
It's not about whether you like him.
you can say, yeah. I mean, I've been very clear on when we've done music or movie, when we've done pop culture, I've been very clear. I am not a fan of this, meaning it's not like my taste, but I accept the greatness of it.
Right.
It's rare occasion that I say, no, it's just not even good. I mean, there was stuff on that Apple list that you and I both did. Ironically, Bad Bunny was one of the top 20 greatest songwriters of all time on their list.
Are we recording, by the way?
We are recording.
Okay.
I don't want to get too deep into it, but I had to bring it up though. But
it's like, yeah, that's just funny. Okay, listen, I don't know Bad Bunny's lyrics, so I couldn't tell you how good of a songwriter.
I mean,
he is.
Taylor Swift's on there.
Yeah,
so which she should be on there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not saying she should be on there because I can't think of.
She's a good.
I can't think of 19 better songwriters than her, or 20 better songwriters than her off the top of my head. But I mean, I'd have to go through and be like, okay, this person's better. This person's better. I don't know. She's really good at making pop hits, though.
Let's do this real quick. We won't break it down. Oh, it's the 30 greatest living American songwriters. Nile Rodgers, Good Times, I Want Your Love, Lost in the Music, Dance, 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 whatever. Basically a disco songwriter. Okay. I don't know. Lucinda Williams. Okay, sure. I mean, that really places you as a late Gen, early Gen Zer or Gen Xer. But okay, maybe. Stevie Wonder. Yes, you and I are both on board with that. Jay-Z. I have no problem with that. Paul Simon. Don't have a problem with that. Taylor Swift. Don't have a problem with that. Brian and Eddie Holland. Who do they write for? Oh, they wrote for the Supremes. Vandellas. Okay, I could see that. Missy Elliott.
That's interesting. That's too recent. That's recency bias.
Lionel Richie, sure. Dolly Parton, yes. Although I would imagine some of the songs that they think she wrote, she didn't actually write. So I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Young Thug.
No.
Diane Warren, sure. Although most people know her from her duet from the dancing song. Josh Osborne, Brandy Clark, Shane McAnally. I guess they're a writing group from Nashville. Interesting, they don't list any of the songs they've written. Oh, Casey Musgraves, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I bet I could come up with better songwriters from... That's another recency bias. I bet I could come up with better songwriters from all time. Oh, I guess it's living, though. So that's the caveat. That is the caveat. Fiona Apple, okay. Babyface, Stephen Merritt. Seeing his song list, I don't know any of them. Romeo Santos, Carole King, absolutely. Outkast. Look, you can't have Outkast and Babyface and Jay-Z and whoever the other dude was. Like, pick two. Mariah Carey, okay. Just so we're clear, though, some of her biggest hits were covers, like Michael Jackson. Willie Nelson, yes, absolutely. Kendrick Lamar, again, Valerie Simpson, Bob Dylan, yes. Lana Del Rey. The Dream, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Bad Bunny, Bruce Springsteen, Smokey Robinson, yes. Yeah, there's not enough rock on here. Here's one. Where's Paul McCartney and John Lennon? Well, I guess they're not, well, one's alive. Can we do a 50-50 on that one? At least one's alive. Anyway. Yeah, it just seems like, or how about, he's not really rock though, he's folk. Carolina, on my mind.
Ray Charles?
No, white dude guitar. Hippie. Bald hippie. Damn it.
Clapton. Carolina on my mind.
I think Carolina is just the name of the song. James Taylor.
Yeah, James Taylor for sure.
Anyway, I don't want to get, this doesn't need to be like a whole episode, but it was something worth bringing up. I thought it was fun. Are you doing well?
Yeah, wife and kids are back. I got to go to the movies for the first time in forever. I think the last movie that I went to the movie theaters for was the first Mario movie. And we just went as it was on a whim. There was nothing else to see. Friends were in town and they were just like, oh, let's go watch a movie. And it was like, what do we want to go watch? And there was nothing really to watch. And we're just like, I guess we'll just go watch the Mario movie. So we went and did that. So that was the last time. I don't even know when that came out. Post-COVID, maybe like 2022. I was living in Visalia, so. But yeah, so got to go to the movies, got to watch Project Hail Mary. That was a lot of fun. I think I've talked about it on the show before. It's one of my favorite books that I read when it first came out. That might be a 2022 book too. Andy Weir, one of my favorite authors. I think Ryan Gosling did a fantastic job in the movie depicting his character. Rocky, the character, had a different voice than I was expecting, than I imagined, but other than that, went really well with him. And then I think they depicted him really well. And then, and then I went and saw Mortal Kombat later that night, which that was just fun. I think it's okay to like cheesy movies. It was better than the first one, and the first one I like a lot. Again, they're not Oscar.
You mean the last one? Because I think there's been other ones, but the last
like a trillion.
one
but this was a reboot, and so with the reboot, the first one in this series of Mortal Kombat movies, which came out in 2021, or whatever. Yeah, I was still working at Sierra Pacific. That one was a lot of fun. I liked it. It was cheesier, campier. I watched it just on Thursday night to refresh me for Saturday. And I was like, man, this is really cheesy, really campy. But I was like, but it's still fun. And then this one was cheesy, campy, but it had upgraded effects and that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, you could tell they put a little bit more money into this one. And
the criticism I heard for the first one also was that whoever the lead guy was, and I've seen clips of the movie, couldn't place him in anything. And usually I can be like, oh, that's the guy from this thing and that thing, or know the name. He was a little meh for the role. He was a little like milquetoast bland.
Oh yeah.
Whereas the guy we couldn't remember the name of, who's the lead in this one,
he was the main character.
He was better for
the guy that was supposed to, so they set up for the first one, they're like, oh man, there's this guy he's supposed to be in the bloodline of Scorpion, which if you don't know, the Scorpion's like the poster child. There's two poster childs for Mortal Kombat, and neither one of them is the main character for Mortal Kombat. But there's Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So there's the fire guy and the ice guy, but Scorpion's the good guy, and his bloodline is supposed to be the winner of this tournament or whatever. And so they build it up that this is like his destiny, all that kind of stuff in the first movie. In the second movie, he has like 5 lines in the whole film. And yeah, in Mortal Kombat, in true Mortal Kombat fashion, they have no problems, and this might be a spoiler for all of you, but if we're being honest, you're going to go watch the movie and you're just going to go have a good time if you're going to watch it at all. Has no problem because they bend the rules on everything. They have no problem killing people off. So you can get as attached to those characters as you want, because they'll be alive in the next movie. I promise. They'll be alive. They'll be like, oh, they're coming back as a zombie, but they're going to bring them back to life. So they're now on the bad team for a little while until we fix the problem. And then they come back and
I think that's one of the things Critical Drinker pointed out, but it wasn't like he pointed it out and was kind of, that's convenient, but it wasn't like a deal breaker.
Yeah. Like if you're going to go again, these movies aren't winning any Academy Awards. Like they're meant to be fun. They're meant for you to like the character.
It's not canon.
They're meant for you to like the characters, and then for the characters so put the hypothetical in your brain. Be like, what if that guy fought his best friend?
Yeah.
And you're like, so how do we make that work? Oh, well, let's kill him. Let's bring him back to life as a zombie and fight his friends. And then let's see who wins. Like that's but then they'll eventually be a good guy again at the end, and they'll resurrect him, and blah, blah. So that's how that whole thing works. So again, they have a set list of characters. They bring
Why don't
in
they just make
occasionally
each
new
one
ones,
its
but
own thing, like it's a video game,
Yeah.
instead of like it's not a serial.
Yeah.
Or they could just do what Star Wars is floating right now, which is announcing to the world that the sequels, so everything after the latest group of movies that Disney did,
after Return of the Jedi, the next 3 Skywalker movies,
they're going to be on the platform you to watch, but just ignore that those are part of the storyline. We're going to totally reset the storyline after Return of the Jedi.
Are they doing that?
They're floating the idea, and so far from what the criticism I've heard is all you're going to do, that doesn't solve the problem, because it's not going to mollify the people who are already pissed off at you for wrecking the franchise, and the people who do like those movies are going to be pissed off. So you're just going to piss everybody off. So just,
I don't know. I didn't know Favreau was doing the Mandalorian movie that's out right now.
That's the only saving grace to it, because that
guy knows how to direct an action.
He
movie,
knows how to
so
direct a
I was
movie,
like,
but the Mandalorian just kept getting, I don't know.
I didn't watch the show, so I don't know.
The more and more it kept going, it's just like, all right, enough. But yeah, so I don't know when I might go see the Christopher Nolan Odyssey.
Oh yeah.
But the trailer dropped. I'm not thrilled that they're having everyone just do American accents. I as much as it perturbs me sometimes to hear Americans butcher like fake Shakespearean accent, I think it does lend itself to another place, another time, to have everyone kind of speaking
British
English
language,
with an English accent.
So,
which is funny because I don't know.
Gladiator is what you're talking about right now.
Sure. Yes. Gladiator.
My name is Marcus.
Half the Hobbit characters.
Where's Russell Crowe from? Is he British?
Australian.
Oh, he's Australian. That makes sense. He looks Australian.
Just Robin Hood. I guess Robin Hood's set in England, but you know what I mean. It kind of lends itself to. So I'm not thrilled with that. Then the version of the Odyssey that Nolan used is the most recent one, which was done by a lady. A lot of people are saying that she kind of deconstructed it into a feminist perspective. I think that's overstated, but she did rewrite it in iambic pentameter, which doesn't have anything to do with how Homer wrote the Odyssey, so I don't understand that. And then even though it's supposed to be the most literal translation, you read some of the stuff she's done, it's like, no, she's used different words to come up with her spin of what this Greek word means. And so anyway, I don't know. He's never really done a woke movie or anything remotely close. In fact, if anything, most of his movies, if you wanted to try to categorize them politically, they tend to be pretty right-leaning. I mean, The Dark Knight's about as right-wing as you can get in terms of law and order. This is what happens when you let people run wild. I mean, that was basically like almost like war on terror movie, pro-war on terror movie. So I don't think it's going to be like that, but I don't know. And also, Matt Damon's too old for the role. Well, I don't know. I don't remember how old Odysseus is.
Odysseus is old.
That's right. He is old. So never mind.
I think that Matt Damon is actually a really good pick for the role. But I think that's what he's trying to depict. He's trying to depict, because again, remember, Odysseus is this wise guy. He's supposed to have some age on him. His son's supposed to be, and I mean, like,
well, that's actually how the Greeks fought. The Greeks didn't send young. Usually, they didn't. A lot of times, they did not, like when the Spartan. One of the things that the 300 movie gets wrong, it's all these young dudes who are going off to fight. It was all old dudes.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to keep the bloodline going, and they wanted to be able to still maintain crops and be able to fight in the future. They didn't send young guns to go off and die. And a lot of times when the Greeks knew it was going to be a slaughter fest or a lost cause, you'd send the head of the household. You wouldn't send the firstborn or the secondborn. They'd stay home. So I don't know. We'll see. One of these days, maybe we'll find the other books that are part of that whole series of Homer. There's 7 other books, and we only have fragments of them. And they apparently it was the whole series. The Odyssey was one of a whole bunch of books that explain in more in depth the Trojan War and stuff like that. And it was basic canon to any Greek at the time. Like, you know, it was a staple for you to know and understand all those books. Anyway, I'm doing well. I had a good time at the Firestone takeover. Hat tip to Nolan. Nolan went out of his way to make sure we got to talk to the co-founder of Firestone Walker, and that was cool. That guy was like every other owner that we run into. He was jazzed to meet us. We said hi, then immediately he saw my Moonlight shirt. He was like, "Okay, you guys know something about drinking." And then he was impressed that we had a tower, which is, I don't know, 120 ounces. I don't know how big that thing is. It's like 6 or 8 pints of beer in this tower that comes to your table. He was impressed of the beer that we had in the tower. I got to slip in our beer marathon. He was wowed by that. We told him about Younger, all the places we visited. And so anyway, it was a good time. Good time drinking and hanging out. And I didn't drink too much. You know, I was watching myself. I don't even remember if I ended up, I had an intention of drinking IPAs. I don't know if that ever happened because I did know I was going to have to drive home.
I had 2 beers there.
But when I got home, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to drink for a while. So I'm not going to drink probably until I go on my Sonoma trip at the end of June.
Nice.
And it's not because I've been drinking too much. It's not any guilt thing. It's not a drinking problem issue. It's mainly just because I need to lose some weight, and it's not going to happen if I drink even twice a week. Because every time you drink, the sugars and beer just resets your system. So you're just constantly resetting it if you're trying to shed some pounds. So I just need to not drink for a while. I'll still go to Kui every week. Probably throw $10 into the 10 for Nolan.
Put some bread in his jar. And say,
just for taking up one of those seats because it's so packed there at Kauai. You know, I'm renting a seat for 3 hours,
right?
And just drink some water and smoke some cigars. Would be around buddies. So, and then I won't be drinking on the show, which is pretty much all. Well, this is another reason. I tell myself I drink twice a week, which I do at some points of the year. But we're in NASCAR season, and if Eric and Nolan come over, so it's now Sunday, so it's now 3 days, and some days it's Saturday. So I just need to not drink for a while, and it's not a problem for me. It's not one of those things where I'm going to be like, oh God, I need a drink. I just need to tell myself not to do it. So
yep.
So I notified Colton of that this morning and sent his anxiety up.
Yep, I thought he was having liver failure. I was like, no, Tim.
Trivia.
Oh, this isn't a trivia night tonight. Well, unless you have trivia for me.
I thought you sort of said you were writing out trivia.
No, I got our activity for this evening. It's not trivia though.
Oh, okay.
Unless you have a trivia question for me. If not,
what did I have?
I was like, you don't have to have a trivia question for me, but I was just saying if you did.
Oh, I have a trivia question, but it can wait till next week.
Okay. All right. So tonight what we're going to do is Tim is going to have to choose between some of his favorite artists. Now, this isn't
Can we do this for food?
We did this for food a little bit, but this one will be a little bit different. Tonight you're going to do some head-to-heads, and you got to choose, and then we're going to decide who your favorite is of those options.
Oh,
it's not fair. But I'm just going to say, that's the winner between the two. Now, don't get me wrong. Please don't. If you're coming at me and you're going to say, and I know what Tim's going to say on some of these, he's going to be like, those aren't fair comparisons.
Nah, I'm telling myself now, so I'll go with it.
Just know that it'll
still be fun.
Just know it's what the internet came up with, not what Colton came up with. I did not choose the head-to-heads on this. This is just going to have to be your gut reaction to if those songs were put head-to-head. Who am I choosing for those songs? We're going to choose 2 artists. You're going to get 5 different songs from each artist going head to head. And then you have to choose between those all the way down to your final. And then we'll say, okay, who won 3 out of 2 or who swept? It might be 5-0 on one of these. I don't know. So are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, we'll start nice and easy. I think that this one's going to be the easiest category. I have them structured in a different way. By the way, I saw this morning. I'll tell you which one I saw this morning, but this one I think is going to be the easiest just because I think that you lean more towards one artist versus another in this one, and then I'll get to the hard. I know who your favorite artist is in each of these three bouts that I have coming up. But I just want to see if you were to compare these two songs to each other, which one are you taking? And then is it, I don't know. So first off, we're going to start off with Sir Elton John versus Billy Joel. So Billy Joel and Elton John both have cited one another for being inspirations for each other. And so I think it would be great to put them head to head. Do you want to explain to the audience who's your favorite out of the two? If you were to pick right off the bat, who would you say is your favorite between Billy Joel and Elton?
It's Elton John between the two.
I knew that. See, I'm good. I know this. Okay. So we're going to start off with the number one head to head. We're starting off big. We're going with the pop hit first. The big hits for both of them. We got Piano Man versus Tiny Dancer. Which one are you taking?
Oh.
It's going to be a lot harder than you think. You had to pick one for the rest of your life. Which one are you taking?
It's Tiny Dancer. I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, you don't feel good about it. Also, fun fact for you, Billy Joel, if you haven't seen the interview with him about Piano Man, it's a fantastic interview, but it's not that he doesn't like the song. He's just like, I don't understand from a musical aspect why people like this song so much. And I know you're confused, but he's like, it's like the easiest song in the world. It's just a waltz. That's all I'm playing.
It's not a complicated song, but...
And then he's like, and the lyrics are basic. He's like, it's a limerick. You know, there once was a man from Nantucket. And then he's like, Joe at the Far is a friend of mine. He gives me my drinks for free. He's quick with a joke and to light up your smoke, but there's someplace he'd rather be.
Sure, but it's the content of the words that is why.
But he's just like, musically, anybody could have came up with that, in his opinion. He's just like, I didn't create any music. Like,
sometimes genius is simplicity.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's the beauty in it.
Look, let me just be clear. Piano Man's a better song than Tiny Dancer is, but I prefer Tiny Dancer for a variety of reasons. One of which, but it's of many, but one of which is it's a very important scene in one of my favorite movies of all time, Almost Famous. It's a pivotal moment. It's one of those scenes that I can conjure up in my brain, and it just, there's a connection. Sometimes I think songs do that too, where it's more than just a song. But I mean, if I'm grading on the Piano Man's a better song, but if you'd put Vienna maybe up against it, I might have gone with Vienna.
Well, what a great thing to say, because number 2, kid you not, is Vienna versus Rocket Man.
Oh, man.
It's not as easy as it seems. By the way, there's no Mona Lisas or Mad Hatters on this list, so I know that's your favorite.
Nah, I still got to go with Rocket Man.
Oh, Rocket Man's so good.
You got to understand, I mean, I'm not you, but saying this to the listener. You have to understand the context of when that song is written.
So if you haven't seen Rocket Man, go watch it and then get the context behind that song. Number 3, Uptown Girl versus I'm Still Standing.
I'm not a big Uptown Girl guy.
It's poppy Billy Joel.
That's the stage I'm not a big fan of.
Uptown Girl.
His whole, I appreciate his whole 50s genre album, and that was certainly a huge hit in, I don't know, 83, 84, probably 82, 83. Probably came out in 82, but it was big in 83, 84. And at the time I was, I liked it, that one, and Longest Time.
Oh, I do like Longest.
It's not that I don't dislike this stuff. But I'm still going to go with, sorry, still going with the flamboyant man.
I'm a big Billy Joel fan, but I'm also a huge Elton John fan. I think that this one would be a lot tougher for me than it is for Tim. But just like the whole list in general, I'd be like, I'd have to think about it for probably like 20 minutes. Tim's like, shoot from the hip. Number 4, this might be a clean sweep for Elton John to start things off. I don't know. Number 4, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, which I love that song, versus Benny and the Jets, not by Biz Markie.
Hey, kids, what for this?
Betty and the Jets.
If you know the Biz Markie version, which you can hear on the Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique album, just listen to that a couple times, and the next time you have to go sing karaoke, just sing Benny and the Jets, the Biz Markie version.
Yeah.
Because those are the people there who know what you're doing will laugh, and everybody else will look in horror or laugh just because they don't know what the hell you're doing. But it'll be a fun time for everybody. I'm gonna go. Oh damn! On that one, I'm gonna go with Billy Joel. I'm gonna
Scenes
go
from an Italian Restaurant.
That one.
Underrated Billy Joel song.
Yeah,
in my
absolutely.
opinion. I was like, the bottle of red, bottle of white. Yeah, it's so good. Underappreciated Billy Joel song, but on his best album. That's where Vienna is from. It's not Piano Man. Piano's a Man is his first album, which is really good. But I think that album, Scenes from Italian Restaurant, is his best album. In your last one, can Billy Joel at least get 2 out of the 5? Although I know your answer on this one. Maybe I don't. We have We Didn't Start the Fire. Yeah, I knew exactly where this is going. Versus this one's like drastically different songs. Like some of these have been pretty close. They're similar, at least in like style or whatever. We have We Didn't Start the Fire versus Your Song.
Your
I
song.
hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind. Put down and
if you'd had Just the Way You Are on there, I would have picked Just the Way You Are.
Well, yeah, I also know that New York State of Mind is your favorite Billy Joel song.
Yes, and New York State of Mind probably would have beat any one of those songs.
Well, it probably wouldn't have beat Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter's.
No. I think Just the Way You Are was a big hit at the time, and I think that's written for Christy, whatever her name is.
Yeah. And that one's on Scenes from an Italian Restaurant.
I think so. And then, yeah, it's a great.
And I think Always a Woman is on that album.
It's another one. That's another good one. See, this is now pissing me off more about what those New York Times people said. He is an amazing storyteller.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Elton John wins 4-1. Easy one. I kind of knew it was going to go that way. I think I had you. I think I thought you were going to sweep it for Elton John, but that was good to see just because I saw the songs that it had given for Billy Joel, and I know your style of Billy Joel. Okay, so up next, we have, and you can clarify for everybody on the podcast what your favorite is between the two. We're going to go to the next easiest one. So I think that one was the easiest, and I think that this one is a little bit harder. You may disagree. We have Led Zeppelin versus the Rolling Stones.
Oh, no, this might be difficult.
No, I think that this one's difficult, but I think that the last category, I think is a pretty difficult category for you, or for the last two. So we got Led Zeppelin versus the Rolling Stones.
This is like asking me to pick my favorite children.
Do you want to clarify to everybody who you would probably say is your...
No, because I can't on that. Between the two of them, it depends on the time of year. You might find me where I'm like listening to the Rolling Stones. I'm like, oh, they're better. And then you might find me, like, I've been listening more to Zeppelin lately than I have Rolling Stones.
Well, I once gave you grief. I've given you lots of grief on this show about the Stones being your favorite. And then you're like, I wouldn't even say they're my favorite. I think Zeppelin's probably more my favorite, but...
I would probably hold to that. So.
I know. But
there's a wider breadth of, I would say, I'm less of a early Rolling Stones. I start liking the Rolling. I mean, there's a few songs in there, but once the Rolling Stones decide to stop being the Beatles is when they take off. Like I said, there's a few songs on those previous albums where they're just like ripping off the Beatles. And when I say ripping off the Beatles, they're doing it in a good way.
What's the song by them that I don't like because it's too much like the Beatles? It's about a day of the week. Tuesdays?
No, yeah, Ruby Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, come on.
Yeah, that's a straight up, like, not White Album, but Sergeant Pepper's kind of rip off.
Yeah, it's
But with Zeppelin, it's mostly from the beginning, and then they all the way through. Some of their later albums, it gets a little sparse. But all right, let's go.
All right, we're starting off big. I feel like we went up big on the last one. I don't know if this one's as big, but this one has my favorite rock song of all time, and it's the live version only, or live or bust on this one. Stairway to Heaven or Gimme Shelter.
Gimme Shelter.
Oh wow!
I am not a big Stairway to Heaven guy. I was as a kid, and I fully appreciate it.
The doors are all closed.
I fully appreciate it. I understand why it's one of the great songs of all time. I'm not saying it's just for me. It's kind of.
Oh, don't get me wrong. And Gimme Shelter is fantastic. That's a hard pick, but
yeah, I don't know.
And then how many movies have ended with Gimme Shelter? It's like,
oh yeah.
All right, number 2, Whole Lotta Love or Paint It Black.
Whole Lotta Love.
Whole Lotta Love. All right, we're tied 1-1. Right,
how many war movies is Paint It Black in? How many Vietnam War movies is Paint It Black in?
I love Paint It Black.
Paint It Black was the theme song of a Vietnam TV show in the late 80s called Tour of Duty that was somewhat decent. It came out about the time Platoon came out as a movie. People were getting more serious about, it was still cheesy compared to today's standards, and it was a TV show. I think it was on CBS, if I remember right. But yeah, Paint It Black was the theme song.
All right. I'm curious about this one. Just because I like both of these songs, I have my pick, but Kashmir versus Sympathy for the Devil.
Sympathy for the Devil.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. I wasn't sure.
And that song is misunderstood, partially because idiot Christians have made a big deal about that song. That song is not praising the devil at all. No. It's the opposite. If you really listen to the lyrics, and I'm not, far be it from me to claim that they're a bunch of Bible thumpers. And if anything, they were, flirting with the occult in the 70s, at least on their album covers and stuff. But good Lord, that's not a pro-devil song. Kashmir is a great song, but no.
All right. I think I know where this next one is going to land, so I'm going to skip this one. And I'm going to go to the last one, and then I'll cycle back just to see if we can even things up or maybe make things different. I think you're going to go with the Stones based off of your options here, but we're going to go Black Dog versus Satisfaction.
I'm going to go with Black Dog.
That's what I thought. Satisfaction isn't my favorite stuff.
I don't feel good about it. Though neither one of those would be on my top lists of songs by those artists.
Yeah, I agree.
But they're some of their biggest hits, so I get it.
All right, the last one to decide. We are tied up 2-2, and I don't feel like this is a great representation of these bands to put as the final, but this is what the list popped out, and so this is what we got to go with. We have Immigrant Song versus Start Me Up.
Immigrant Song.
Oh, wow. Zeppelin takes it. I like Immigrant Song. I don't know if I like it more than Start Me Up, but
Start Me Up's a little. It's fine, but
it's fine. Well, but Immigrant Song, it's a 2-minute song on.
I have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth because Immigrant Song was used for Windows 98 or something as their ad campaign. One of those bad Windows versions. No, it was the first Windows version. It was Windows 2 or whatever the hell it was. Well, sellouts. Yeah, no. Immigrant Song is really good. Start Me Up's fine, but that's late Rolling Stones.
Yeah, Immigrant Song. I can't do it.
If you'd put Wild Horses on any one of those lists, it would have won. But if you'd put, I don't know. That's the thing with those two bands. I can go pretty deep in the catalog with stuff that I really like. In the Evening, Communication Breakdown, I Need Your Love. One of the best songs is the Rain song. It's 10 minutes. It's kind of a slow one for about 5, and then it just rips into a big old crescendo. I mean, and then same thing, same thing with Rolling Stones, Wild Horses, give me all your lovin', shoot. Man, blanking on song names. Oh, and then there was the one I was in love with like 2 years ago, Beast of Burden. Well, there's Beast of Burden, but then there was that other one.
That's my favorite Stones song.
What was the other one I was asking? I asked the dude at Coronado to do. Oh, Tumbling Dice. Anyway, yeah, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, Beast of Burden is my favorite Stones.
Yeah, that period where they just hoovered up, they just listened to and absorbed a whole bunch of old Johnson records from the 20s and 30s is when they really kicked it into high gear. And Zeppelin never had that. They were already accomplished musicians by the time they got a record deal. They've been working in like Page and John Paul Jones had been working as studio musicians in London for a couple years before the band got started. So they all grew up in, I think even Plant, maybe not Bonham, but most of them had grown up in houses where there was like classical music. So they were a lot like the Beatles, where they had a lot of the stuff you're hearing, and they I'm not saying they did it intentionally. It's like, oh yeah, that's basically they've ripped off Beethoven or Bach.
Right.
It's not because they're trying to, it's because all that stuff, because Beethoven, Bach, Mozart kind of create just like fundamental motifs in music for Western music. And so like, it's osmosis. So when people were like, they just ripped off so-and-so, well, it's because it's kind of, again, there's only so much music you can create until it just starts becoming noise. So,
yep.
Or you have to and even as innovative as rap is, even its derivative, largely, it's at its best, it's derivative of other things where they're sampling. So it's really not much more you can do on melodies without completely deconstructing music as we know it.
All right, we have our last category, or our last face-off, I guess we should say. We got Nirvana versus Alice in Chains.
All right, Andy.
Tim, would you like to disclose who you would choose between the two?
Alice in Chains.
All right,
Alice in Chains, and I know it's a controversial / snooty sounding choice. I get it. I'm not saying it to sound pretentious.
I don't think so. Now, wait. I don't know if I said it on podcast. I know that I texted you about it. I don't think that that's wrong because, and we've had a conversation where I'm like, I think that Alice in Chains has more similarities with classic hair rock and like even more metal aspects. And Nirvana, as you've talked about, has that kind of punk.
Yes, it's the problem with grunge.
It's a really in between kind of
grunge is like if I tell you, if I say hairband music and you know what hairband music is, like it's pretty obvious, like you know what that means. That means 2 verses with a chorus in between, a guitar solo that goes on for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then another verse maybe, or just the chorus twice after that. They're 4-minute tight songs. On an album, you might get some 5 song. They're going to have some, the music's it's all trite. It's very 80s. It is capitalism at its peak, like sex, drugs, rock and roll. Sex, alcohol, rock and roll, not so much drugs. I mean, they're doing drugs, but they're not singing about drugs. It's alcohol and chicks and chicks and chicks. And you can do that with a lot of different rock. Like if I tell you what heavy metal is, you're pretty much going to know what that means. Like true heavy metal, not.
Yeah.
Grunge is a little weird because really, in some respects, it's really just it's just a group of bands that came out of Seattle at about the same time, mid 80s to early 90s. And even then there's bands get thrown in that are grunge that aren't from Seattle, so that doesn't quite fit. But that's really what it is, because Soundgarden doesn't have much of a relationship to Nirvana in terms of style. Soundgarden is a rock band.
Yeah.
Hard rock, almost heavy metal band. To your point, so is Alice in Chains. Stone Temple Pilots are rocky with a little bit of almost poppy parts of it. in some albums.
They
with
kind
some
of
of the
breach
bigger
into
hits.
the 90s dad rock.
Yeah.
kinda-
But yes, Nirvana, like, well, and then there's, oh shoot, can't remember the name. There's another band.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, Smashing Pumpkins is a whole other thing. That they're like, well, that's just the Billy Corgan experience, which is just, I mean, that is technically, yeah, it's considered grunge, but it's basically taking the Cure and melding it into
The world
rock
is a vampire.
from my perspective. Screaming Trees, that's just a rock band. Screaming Trees is just a rock band, but they're considered grunge because they're from Seattle. I think they're from Seattle.
Yeah, and I think like if you go to Seattle,
Pearl Jam's mostly just a rock band, although on the first album there's some innovative stuff on there, which is why I think I stopped liking them as much, because then they ended up not having, I felt, as much talent in terms of songwriting and different songs. After
you're
that,
talking about lyrics, right? There's S tier lyrics coming out of Pearl Jam.
No, I mean musically.
I quote him all the time.
Musically. Oh, who can't? Who can't?
Yeah,
who
whenever
can't
somebody asks
quote
me
Eddie
what do I
Vedder?
want
Hey,
from a restaurant,
huh.
I'm like, I love Pearl Jam, by the way. Big fan.
Yellow Ledbetter.
But it's easy to make fun of you better. Like I love the band. You're just easy to make fun of. Like,
But and then you got Nirvana, which is just basically a punk band. It's a heavy grunt punk band. And I saw Dave Grohl talking. I saw him interviewed last week, and he was talking about how, everyone's got this idea of Cobain being like this dark, broody guy, which understandably why. I mean, he arguably committed suicide, but he definitely had his issues. But what Grohl remembers is just it being like this. It's just three children on the tour all the time. The three of them just having fun. In fact, he told the story of how the destroying their instruments happened.
oh yeah,
I think it was he had an old drum set, and I think it was Kurt would just start pounding away on the drums. Not when they're playing, but like during rehearsal or something. I think I'm getting this right. And he started like putting holes into Grohl's drums. So he kept asking the tour leader, the manager, I need another drum kit. Can we, when we're in town, can we stop at a music store and get a new? Now there's no money for it. So they decided one night it's the only way they were going to get a drum set was to beat the shit out of the drums on stage. And so they destroyed the drums during the concert in order to make sure he had to get a new drum kit. And then it turned into what the crescendo of that was on the MTV Music Awards when they trashed everything and the bass player threw his bass up in the air and then watched it hit him in the forehead and give him a concussion. But they were a bunch of it was a knucklehead. It's funny if you look that Nirvana arguably that's the song of that generation, my generation. No one says, oh, you might say you were Van Halen, you had Van Halen, all these big bands, but as the Beatles defined the late 60s, early 70s, Nirvana defines the
early 90s,
late 80s, early 90s. And I've said before, music decades go from they go from the 5 to the 5. So 85 to 95. And when Kurt died, it was like freaking Bob Dylan or some major poet died.
When was their first album release? Because 91 is never,
they had another album before, but it was like a EP or something. I believe.
But 91 was Nevermind.
That was Nevermind.
Okay.
In fact,
when was Heart Shaped Box? Was that in the EP or no?
Heart Shaped Box was.
I thought that was before. No,
no,
was it after. It was after.
I think that was after.
Okay.
In fact, let me show you.
That's the Anatomy album, whatever that one is.
Anyway, I'm pulling something up to what you just asked, but anyway, Kurt is seen as like this Bob Dylan figure.
He was the voice of a generation.
But if you really listen to his stuff, it's dumb, it's fun, it's inane. There's not anything deep to it.
Well, there is depth to it, but it's nothing. It's nothing that grunge wasn't already speaking out against. So, well, I mean, they're the fathers of, or they're not the fathers of grunge, but they're considered the juggernauts of grunge, I guess. And so therefore you have to reference what it is that they're going. But the funny things that people latch onto about them is the same stuff that people latch onto about punk. So that's where it's just kind of.
Well, that's true, and you're exactly right, which is why they're a punk band. It's fun. It's not, people focus on what's their name with the anarchy and making fun of the Queen and stuff like that as like this huge statement of a protest song. It's not really that's not really what they meant. It was a fun song.
The Wu-Tang Clan is fucking, or no, Public Enemy is punk rap music. So
I should remember this. Bleach was the first album.
Oh yeah.
That was released in '89. What did that have on it? Wait,
Bleach isn't Pearl Jam's album? That's not
it's Nirvana's first.
Facetious. What is Pearl Jam's album?
I'll give you that in a second.
I know, but it's not Bleach. What is it?
Oh, hang on.
No, you're fine.
Let's see what songs are on there. Blue, Floyd the Barber, About a Girl, School, Love Buzz, Pop, Paper Cuts, Negative Creep, Scoff, Swap Meet. Yeah, I mean, just Mr. Mustache Sifting. Yeah, so
if you say that your favorite album from Nirvana is Bleach, you're a liar. That's what I learned from that just now.
Or unless you know truly that they're just some fun band that had some dark stuff. So to answer your question, Pearl Jam's first album was 10.
Oh, that's not the one I'm thinking of then.
This made the rounds on X this week. Someone had a picture of cassettes stacked up. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this?
No, I have not.
These all were released in 57 days of each other in 1991. Metallica.
Oh, well, no, I haven't seen this, but there's, so I don't know what the name of this television company is. They're British, and it's like the British MTV, and their logo is like a butterfly. I don't know what the name of the TV channel is. I don't know, but it's the British MTV, and they actually still do MTV like stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they released, there was a full-on episode, or kind of like how VH1 used to do their stuff. Which everybody said that VH1 in the early thousands or late 2010s or early 2010s was like how MTV used to be.
Yes.
Where it was a bunch of music shows, music videos, all that kind of stuff. This British one still does it, and they did an entire episode on how 1991 was one of the greatest years of music. So
yeah, so you got Metallica all released within,
because that's also
2
when
months
Guns
of each other.
Guns N' Roses.
Metallica, Pearl Jam 10, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger, Nirvana, Nevermind, and what is not on this list is U2's Rattle and Hum.
Yeah, Rattle and Hum. That was on that episode as well. So, I mean, obviously it's a U2, even though they're from Ireland, get some love in the Brits and the UK apparently. So,
okay, so let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Enough dilly-dallying on Nirvana versus Alice in Chains. Let's actually get down to the head-to-head. Are you choosing In Bloom or Down in a Hole?
On that one, I'm going to do In Bloom.
Yeah, because that song is great. Down in a Hole is great. It's dark, though. That is a dark song.
That's not one of my favorite. I mean, it's great, but it's not like, that's not one, probably my top 5.
Do you feel like In Bloom is one of your top 5 Nirvana songs?
Probably, yeah.
All right. Number 2, Heart-Shaped Box versus Them Bones.
Them Bones.
Really? All right. Heart-Shaped Box.
It's a great song. It's probably a better song, but
yeah. Lithium versus Wood.
Wood.
Emphasis on the question mark.
If I would you?
Smells Like Teen Spirit versus Man in the Box.
Oh man, damn it! Actually, that was their first song. Wood was, I think, their second. No, Wood was on Man. Yeah, Man in the Box was first, but Wood was on the singles soundtrack, which was about grunge music, written by movie by Cameron Crowe, who also did Almost Famous and Jerry Maguire. Damn it. I want to pick Man in the Box, but I feel like that's just...
the wrong answer.
No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Wow.
I'm a man in the box.
Listen, great song, but also one of my favorite intros of all time is actually Smells Like Teen Spirit.
I don't feel good about it.
Is Dave Grohl on the drums.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it.
It's so great.
You'll probably regret it.
I don't think you will regret it. Because I actually, this was the one where I skipped the 5 to hopefully give a better shot. Because I feel like I know where you're going to go with number 4. Because I picked the Allison Jane song on this one. Because actually, I'm not a huge, well, anyways. Come As You Are versus Rooster. Yeah.
Rooster.
I don't feel like that was
Awesome.
close at all.
Rooster's so good. I don't know what the hell. I don't know why they wrote that song, but man, it's great.
Oh, you don't know? Well, it's a song about his dad's experience in Vietnam.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah,
it's clearly somebody's experience in Vietnam.
Yeah, so
pretty
it's just
raw.
like, shit, that song slaps.
Yeah,
but yeah. Well, there you go. Apparently, the hardest one tonight was the Stones because you went 4-1 for Alice in Chains, and you went 4-1 with Billy Joel and Elton John, but 3 versus 2 for the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. And
there's something wrong with me. Nirvana. I had Nirvana. I listened to them regularly, but they just didn't resonate with me to the way Alice in Chains did in general. And then, like I said, that first Pearl Jam album, I would take that first 10 album over Nirvana, and then it goes downhill from there. But
you would take the 10 album by Pearl Jam
over Nevermind.
Over Nevermind.
Over
wow.
Nevermind. That's I
listen.
fully appreciate. I have a problem. It's not. I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I think that's just, I've never expected you to say that because I've always known you to be a Pearl Jam hater. So,
well, it's the totality of Pearl Jam, but that first album is amazing.
Yeah, and
they have one of the best. Whatever the first song was that propelled them, had a great music video where it was just recorded of them live, I think in Chicago at a place. And so, you got Eddie Vedder crowd surfing and all this great stuff. So,
oh yeah, that's tough. Yeah, huge fan of all of the musicians that are listed today. Would listen to any of them in a heartbeat. But it was fun kind of contrasting their hits with other people that would be considered a part of their genre or people that are in Tim's mind the giants of their musical genre. So there you go. That was a fun exercise. I enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed that at home too. Hopefully you went along and maybe you disagreed with Tim, and that's okay. But yeah, Andy, we would like to hear your thoughts later.
Let's see.
Did Andy go 5 for 0 on Alice in Chains versus Nirvana?
That's good. I probably not. There's probably 1 or 2 on there that he went with Nirvana, but I don't know. Rooster for sure. He was with me.
I think everybody's with you on the Rooster. I don't feel like that was remember where I said we'd sit there and say those aren't great head-to-heads. There's obviously a favorite there, and I feel like Rooster beats out Come As You Are. But don't get me wrong, lots of people like Come As You Are.
That's the thing though. That's one of my favorite ones of their song. One of their songs.
Oh, really? But I feel like the Rooster just that's going up against a juggernaut there. You're just yeah, that's not gonna I might put, I don't think it'd still win in my book, but I'd probably still put In Bloom versus the Rooster because I feel like it'd have a better chance than Come As You Are.
Just real quick, I have scoured the internet and I cannot find it, and I'm kicking myself. I might have to go look on my old music server, see if it's sitting in there somewhere. All apologies. That probably, I would say that's one of those versions where the MTV Unplugged became more popular than the album version.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Not Run DMC. DC Talk did a version of that.
Oh, really?
And they changed. I could not tell you off the top of my head. I don't remember the lyric enough from that whole thing. You just have to understand that when they say son, it's SON instead of SUN. I think that's all they do.
Oh, really?
They just they do it. I had a version of it. They had a version of it that was acoustic. They did it live at a concert. The three of them sang. I think two of them played guitar, and it was fantastic. And it was a good, clever little way of taking that song. It worked out that if you just changed that one song, that one word in the lyric, that one letter, then it completely changed the meaning of the song. So, but like I said, I've not been able to find that. I've scoured everywhere. Okay, we do have a main topic. We're going to get there in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to get to it in just a sec. Colton's got it. For tonight, I don't know how much we're going to... I don't know. This is a topic that could have lots of things to say about it, or we just go, yeah, I feel like that's good. So I don't know.
I think there's some things to say.
Oh, I think there is some things to say, but we'll see. So tonight we are talking about love languages. Now, this is something that is no longer as Christianese as it once was. Correct?
Correct.
This used to be something... Now, wait, do you have the original book?
I do. Let me pull it up. So the book was written in 92.
Yep.
By a Baptist pastor who also has a doctorate in what I don't know. I'm sure I could find it. Gary Chapman. And
from Chapman University.
And it's the 5 love languages. Let's see. First year he sold 8,500 copies, which was 4 times what the publisher expected. Following year it sold 17,000. 2 years later it was basically doubling every year. 2 years later it was 135. As of 2013, it had spent 297 weeks on the bestseller list.
Wow.
And so I would say if you were a pastor probably between, let's say, 1998, if you were in a mainstream identifying evangelical church, chances are, and you were getting married by your pastor, or it might not even be your pastor, but you're getting married by a pastor, they would do what they would call counseling. Would they call it counseling? Or is that just my
Yeah, it's marriage counseling.
Marriage counseling in advance.
Premarital counseling is what it's
for them to, and this book would be a part of it. Now, so when I say that, that's not to say that is no longer the case. The churches don't do pastors don't do premarital counseling. I don't know if this book is still part of it. It probably is for a lot of them. I certainly did it when my wife and I.
Lots of pastors still do premarital counseling, by the way.
Right. And I think they should. And so a lot of them are very honest with you. They're like, I want to know whether or not I feel comfortable marrying you too. So I'd like to have some conversations.
Which is true because, so like for an example, so when we asked Brandon to be our what's the term I'm looking for? Officiator? So when we asked Brandon to officiate our wedding, he knew us, right? Like Audrey and I had been dating since high school. I was his intern. Like we've had background together. We've known each other for a long time. But that is not common with pastors all the time. Pastors get asked on a regular basis just because they lead the congregation. They might have shook your hand once and they'll get asked by these people to be like, hey, we need somebody to marry us and we want to do it within the church and that kind of stuff. So can we have you as our officiant or the person that officiates? And then you're like, and they got to go, yeah, but let me get some insight into this relationship kind of thing and make sure you guys are set up for success or as set up for success as possible. Now, it's not a lot. Most of them really only do about 3 to 5 sessions of premarital counseling because at the end of the day, marriage is something that is, you don't know what you don't know. And so going in, like, there's lots of people that are still in hormonal stages of their relationships. There are lots of people that are in, and so what this actually what happens with this and with premarital counseling is actually a chance for somebody who's been married to sit down with you and give you some wisdom. And that's the best thing that I got from Brandon in ours was wisdom and insight. One of the best things that he ever actually shared with us was, and we didn't realize it at the time, like we talked to each other and we did exactly what Brandon asked us to do for our homework, but we didn't really actually fully understand the breadth of what he was talking about until a couple years into our marriage, and we're like, oh, this is what he was talking about. So he talked about how you need to talk about, he's like, you guys need to talk about all the things. Like, you need to talk about whether or not you guys took vacations as a family growing up. Like, where were those weekend vacations? Were those week-long vacations? And so like Audrey and I would like go and we'd be like, blah, blah, blah. But actually what he was trying to get at was, what are the expectations that you each have for when it comes to vacations? Like, he's like, some people get into a relationship and they're like, why doesn't he want to go anywhere? And they're like, what do you mean? We went to the Bahamas last year for, we went to the Bahamas last summer for like 2 weeks. And it's like, yeah, but they're like, but I asked if we could go to Pismo for 2 days. And then I said, could we go to here for 3 days and that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, you took a lot of weekend trips when you were growing up. And so therefore that's what you expect. There's like weird things that people have that are expectations that they have of how the world works and how you should be able to do things. Like going to the snow and going snowboarding or something like that. Is that something that they used to do regularly? Or was that something that was like a once a year, we're doing one ski trip kind of thing? And I know that all seems weird and trite or whatever, but those are going to be legitimate things that you are going to run into that are going to cause, and not necessarily cause issues, but it allows you to have a deeper understanding of, oh, this is how my spouse views time together, or how they view how we're supposed to allocate our funds. So it's like, so I got lucky with Audrey. Well, I'm not saying I got lucky with Audrey, but we both have, Audrey likes nice things and I like nice things. And so we're more comfortable spending our money on getting nicer things than going to Pismo for the weekend.
Right.
But some people are like, I want to go to the Pismo once a month. And so it's like, okay, then you spend your $300 to $500 on that. Meanwhile, we sit there and we say, okay, we want to have nice dinners, or we want to have nice things in our home or whatever. So those are things that you legitimately don't know about until you don't know. You don't know that those are going to be problems until you don't know. And one of those things that's actually really good for understanding that kind of aspect, and one of the things that they were hoping was going to open a lot of doors, was understanding love languages. And again, this wasn't something that was just for marital counseling, as Tim talked about, but it's also something that was girls' Bible study groups started taking it on. Even guys' Bible study groups kind of taking it on, where it's like, how do I express my love for others, and how do others love me? And how do we accept those? How can recognizing how others love me or how I love others affects everything? So, yeah. Did I cover some of that? Anything else you want to drop in?
No, I think that gets us started.
Okay.
I don't know if now's a good time. I can bring it up. We can bring it up a little bit later. Someone's updated people have gone through and updated the list to 7, but
interesting.
We'll go with a 5 for now.
I would like to hear the extra 2.
Okay, so the original 5.
Words of affirmation, time, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch are the original 5.
Yeah.
What are the additional 2?
Let me see here. The 7 are activity. Is that different? What do we got? Activity. That's quality.
How is activity different than time? But I don't know. Maybe they break it down a little bit differently.
Well, I'll just read through them and then we can figure out what's different. Because I don't have this compared to the. Oh wait, no, I have underneath it. It doesn't compare though. So the 7, according to this, are activity, appreciation, emotional, financial, intellectual, physical, and practical.
Oh, wow. Those are different. Yeah, you would need full explanations on those.
So activity is feeling love through shared experiences and quality time. So that's similar to quality time.
Okay.
Appreciation, feeling valued through verbal affirmation.
Words of
That's words of
affirmation.
affirmation. Emotional, deep, vulnerable conversation and having a partner who is emotionally present and supportive.
Okay, that would typically have been put in time. So they're saying that time is now split into 2 different categories. Okay.
Which I can see.
I can see that kind of. In today's age, that kind of makes sense.
Feeling secure. Financial is feeling secure and loved through shared financial security, thoughtful spending, or partnership in financial goals. I'm not sure that's a love language, but maybe it is for some people. Intellectual is one I can see being added. Connecting through shared intellectual pursuits, deep conversations, and respecting each other's minds. I can think of several like scientist couples off the top of my head, like real ones that I can think of, like, yeah, that's how they connect.
I don't know if that's a love language though. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to express that towards another person. That just seems like a common goal. Like we both want to
No, because I
intellect.
think so. Well, let's get to that in a minute. And then
Okay.
physical is affection expressed through touch, such as cuddling,
touch.
holding hands, physical intimacy. That's physical touch. And then practical is showing love through actions that make life easier, such as chores, running errands, or fixing things. I guess that's acts of service.
Yep. So they got rid of
receiving gifts.
Yeah, so they put finances as like that instead. But finances wasn't the same definition. Like acts of service was similar to.
Yeah, I don't see finances. That to me, that one's definitely a goal thing. Again, the intellectual I can see. So,
I think the only one that I could see is if you split time up in between the 2 categories.
Okay, we're getting ahead of
emotional time and physical time. I could see that being split up. I still think that they're about the same. I think you do need to. I would still say time, but you would need to specify as to what time looks like, which I do encourage people to do. Where it's like, because some people they're like, time spent together, and what fills their battery box for that is literally just like the wife's reading a book.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that that's part of quality time. It just, instead of quality time being defined as an emotional connection, it could be an intellectual connection.
Yeah.
Because the point of the love, just to take a...
Well, I wasn't saying intellectual. I was talking about the difference between, there's the activities. I was saying the activities and the emotional, I feel like, are 2 separate ones. I feel like those, okay, I would have normally just put quality time for both of those. But I could see that, like I was saying, some people go into quality time. Like some people get their quality time battery recharged by literally just like the wife reads a book and the guy plays video games with but they're doing it in the same room, and they're just like, that's quality time spent together because they're spending it together. They're chatting in between or having a time, talking to each other, and that's quality time. But then some people are like, no, I need you sitting there facing me, listening to my day, like that kind of stuff, where I'd be like, okay, that's more the emotional rather than the activity kind of thing. Where the activity, again, it's like, all right, we went out to eat and that kind of stuff. Or do you have this video game reading book situation where it's like, we're spending time together, but it's not. So I don't know. So that was that. The intelligence one, I don't really understand.
I do, because there's people who's their only right brain, and intimacy is achieved through having intellectual stimulating conversation. So I could see that, but they're just, it's Leonard and what's her name on Big Bang Theory. It's Brett Weinstein and his wife, who are both PhD professors who have a podcast together. So, because what the love languages are trying to do is build intimacy between people. Correct? which then strengthens the bond.
I don't think it's necessarily about building intimacy between two people. I don't think that's. I think that is a secondary goal of it. I don't think it's the primary goal.
Okay, that's true. The primary goal is to figure out is so you know how you tick and you know how the other person ticks, in order to avoid problems.
Yeah, I'd say that's the main.
In fact,
That's the primary goal of understanding your love language.
I can pull up. There's a chart.
Yeah, understanding why you're different or why.
Here's some practical applications. So and we're going by the 5.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation, how to communicate, encourage, affirm, appreciate, and listen actively. Actions to take, send an unexpected note, text, or card. Things to avoid, not recognizing or appreciating effort. You look like you're questioning that one.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay.
At all.
Physical touch, nonverbal use of body language and touch to show love, hugs, kisses, cuddling, and then things to avoid: physical neglect or abuse, receiving gifts, thoughtfulness makes your spouse a priority. That doesn't really explain. Oh, I guess actions to take: give thoughtful gifts and gestures, express gratitude when receiving gift. Okay, yeah, express gratitude when receiving gifts. So it's not just the giving to someone; it's also we'll get that. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute. Unenthusiastic gift receiving, forgetting special occasions, quality time, uninterrupted focus conversations, one-on-one time is important. How to do that: create special moments, take walks, do small things with your partner, what not to do, distractions when spending time together, long time without one-on-one time. I do agree with your caveat that some people are perfectly just fine sitting in a room watching TV together or one reading a book. It's just the being in the room together thing, and not the guy in his man cave and she's in the living room or the sewing room or whatever.
But there are people that are so. And this is where, so some people don't understand how those relationships are able to exist, right? Where you have the guy in the man cave and she's in the sewing room, right? Or in the scrapbooking room. But they're able to make that work because they are able to understand their love languages. And so for them, quality time is not a priority for either of them. That's not how they fill their love tank. So then how do they fill it within that? Usually when people are like that, usually like acts of service or gifts are one of the two of those. And usually, just so we're clear, you usually have a 1 and a 2. They kind of they explain that there's one that's for sure, and then there's 2 that's like, all right, this is kind of my backup, and then you have 1 that is definitely not it. Like you are like, that is not mine. You have 1 that's like a polar from you. And it's different from everybody. It's not like, okay, because I like words of affirmation, then I definitely don't like physical touch.
Yeah, it's not it's not like one of those.
Yeah, it's not a 5-star. It's not a pentagram that therefore displays it.
Yeah,
all right, if you're here, well then this is your second. This is usually your backup, and then this is your polar opposite.
Yeah, it's not one of those tests.
No, and it's usually actually based off of how you were raised.
Correct.
And a lot of how your nurturing happened when you were growing up. Did you get lots of words of affirmation? And then did you accept or did you reject that? Did you get a lot of physical touch as a kid? Now, did you accept or did you reject that? That kind of stuff. And then you're able to kind of figure it out from there. So like, for example, for me, I can express mine. That's fine. I'm a words of affirmation person. Now, words of affirmation is kind of difficult or it's tricky. Words of affirmation, like you can't just like sit there and say good job. Like it's not that simple. And you're like, what the heck? Remember, love is not something.
No, I'm remembering the drummer movie.
Oh, Whiplash,
where he says the 2 most dangerous words in the English language are good job.
It has to like come from a special place. And I know that's not helpful for lots of people, but just know that like, and I'm not trying to. And I don't try to earn people's words of affirmation, but there are certain things that people say in certain moments based off that have importance and meaning that I will therefore cherish. And that means a lot and a lot of love in that moment because of what they said in that moment. And that's where I feel loved, is from words of affirmation. And usually you can tell that you're a words of affirmation person. Here's some kind of hints for you, to where you, like, let's say you create something. Think of something that you created. So like for me, it drives my wife nuts that I do this, because again, I'm a words of affirmation person. And so if I make food, I sit there and I ask her 5 different times throughout the meal whether or not she liked it or if it was good. Because my wife is not a words of affirmation person, so therefore she doesn't think to say anything. And I know you're like, Colton, are you really that needy? And it's like, it's not even something that I think about. It's just I sit there and I say, like, can we replay that real quick?
Hang on. Sorry, folks. We just saw a goal.
That was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen for a
What's he
goalie.
supposed to? Yes, but
I mean,
I don't think I went back far enough.
no, I did. I see Caulfield celebrating.
I went too far.
It's okay. It'll get there. Or maybe you didn't go back at all.
No, here it is.
Okay, here we go. There's Caulfield celebrating.
I don't know. That's one of those where you're like, you've been playing hockey long enough. You don't expect that on the one hand. And so on the other hand, it's, you're the goalie coach on the next morning or on the flight home. You're like,
you got to let
this is the Stanley Cup playoffs. You got to watch. You got to watch every clear shot.
You got to watch everything, but that's not. You don't even watch that. That's just a puck rolling around to dish in. Anyways,
it probably hit a gap in the glass or something. It
wasn't even in the glass. It was in the boards, which that happened. Like, it kicks back off of those, but that happens 1 in a million. Like, that's not.
He wasn't trying to do that.
No,
sorry, folks. It's terrible radio.
He didn't even hit it hard in there. Anyways, so for words of affirmation, again, what I was saying was, so like if you fish for compliments, but you like, I'm not sitting there and you're like every time that you go out somewhere, you're just like, so did I do good on this or whatever? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, remember that oftentimes words of affirmation, some people are that way, but again, that's because they want words of affirmation. For me, it has to come from people that matter, people that care. Like, it can't just come from anywhere. Because like, if somebody just tells me good job, it's just like, okay, thanks, and then like move on. It's like, it's one of the reasons why, if you know me, I don't really like put my birthday out there to the world, is because I just don't want, like, I think it was actually Facebook that killed birthdays for me, where it's just like, all right, you have 200 people wishing you happy birthday, and you're just like, yeah, what the hell? Like, you don't, if it wasn't for Facebook notifications, you wouldn't actually know when my birthday was, and you wouldn't actually give a damn. So that's how that goes. So words of affirmation is mine. My opposite, the one that I'm like a definite no on, is physical touch. I don't like being touched by people. It's not a sensory thing. It's not an autistic thing. You can come at me if you want. But it's just like, physical touch isn't just how I express myself. I'm trying to get better at it. Like, for my athletes, I give them I give them shakes on the shoulder now, pats on the back, because again, it's actually about these kind of love languages where it's like, okay, I need to be open to all aspects. I've always been really good at words of affirmation because that's the one that's at the forefront of my brain. But then how do I show love in other ways to my athletes to show them that I care and that this is something that means something to me? And so I dab up my athletes. If you don't know what a dab up is, it's just a greeting. It could be that could have a negative connotation possibly, but it doesn't in this context. So yeah, like I dab them up. I give hugs to my athletes, and I give them shoulder shakes and pats on the back. And I love every one of them. But that is an area that is very tough for me. I mean, it's something that I've had to work on. But my athletes do need to know that they're loved by me. It's one of those things where it's like, nobody told you that I love you today. Know that I love you. Because it's true for my kids. So anyways, so yeah. How about you, Tim? Your love language, your opposite?
Sorry, I was distracted. There goes quality time for the podcast. What is mine? Mine's definitely quality time. Anybody who knows that, it's spending time with my friends, having people over. If my wife's home, I'm probably during the day I'll work out of the office in my home office just as a distraction. It's kind of weird, like way my brain works. Once I'm up in the morning, I'm working in my office. She might catch me on a bad day and come in and like interrupt me in the middle and say something, and I'll give her a cross look or something. She's like, "Why are you mad at me?" And I'll say, "Just give me a second. If I barged into your office at work and just asked you a question, you'd probably be like, 'What the hell? I'm in the middle of working.' So just because it's in the house." But as soon as like if she's working in the house mostly now. So when it's about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, then I will transition over there because it's the end of the day. So I'm not just gonna hang out in my office and keep like I want to be in the room with her. So, and then acts of service, I would say, is the other one.
That's your number 2.
Yeah, probably. It's hard to say which one of those two is first and second. Yeah, I don't know. In some ways, acts of service is even like I like to cook. That's kind of like an act of service. Even having people over, in some ways, it's I'm opening up the house, and if you've been to my house and I've got a party on, sometimes you're gonna have to wake me up, like I'm not asleep, but just like, "Hey, are you okay?" It's like, "Oh yeah, sorry," because I'm just like focused on making sure everything's great for everybody to show up, rather than engage with people until I think everything's like going, and then I'm okay to do it. Receiving gifts, I'm not really. Neither my wife and I are like big receiving gifts people. I mean, I like a gift, but that's not like if you gave me something, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah, gift people, if you're like, am I a gift person? Gift people are really good at receiving gifts and they're really good at giving gifts. Like that's their jam.
Yeah, I'm not good at either one.
Like, and when I say really good at receiving gifts, like you give them a gift and they act like it's the greatest thing that they ever got. Like, and you're just,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel good,
Right?
just in the way that they receive the gift. A lot of people, my oldest sister is a gift. That's her love language. And Colette is really good at receiving gifts. It's just like, no matter what you get her, it's the greatest thing ever. And her husband is actually a gift person as well. So it's kind of funny that they both have each other. That's not common that a lot of people kind of partner up on that. But yeah, they are both really good at receiving gifts and they love, like, Jason's even better than Colette, which is so funny because Jason loves like the randomest shit and he thinks that it's like the greatest thing ever. Like you get him a koozie and he thinks that that's the greatest thing you could have ever given him. And so it's just awesome. Speaking of koozies, shout out Eric Pedersen. He got Jason a koozie that said, "I'm fast as fuck." Which, if you know the story about Jason, and that makes it even better. So,
yeah. Words of affirmation is one where I don't really need words of affirmation. Usually, if I'm like, particularly if I'm in a big setting and I'm getting words of affirmation, I'm usually one to deflect it. Like, no. It's, it's not me. It's a group effort and all that. And like, sincerely mean it. It's not like I'm trying to be fake about it. I tend to be attentive about it, particularly in like business and sports settings. I will go out of my way to.
I think when you're a boss, I think you have a responsibility to. I think that love languages, again, are something that we feel even in our workplaces, that it's something that we need to experience, obviously not in a sexual harassment way, but you want to feel valued and loved in your workplace. And I think that there are minor things that you can do in each of these that will help people feel valued in the workplace. And I don't think that that's talked about enough. Think about like time. There are people that just want to vent their frustration. They don't actually give a damn about like whether or not something gets done, but they want to know that they're heard and that they're seen.
Yeah, they're not looking to have something fixed. They just want to be able to.
There's people where it's like you go and you just like, for example, we had Teacher Appreciation Week this week. And so our admin bought everybody chocolates from the chocolatier that is in Porterville. And that scratches people's itch where it's just like, oh, thank you. Like they feel valued just in the fact that you were willing to spend money on them. Words of affirmation. You should be sitting there and having like figure out your staff and either writing them a note that says, hey, I think that you're doing a great job. It's not evaluative or anything like that. It's just sitting there and saying, hey, keep up the good work.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way, especially for people that have anxiety about their boss and their situation. You look at acts of service when you're an employee or when you're a boss, that one's probably the hardest one to do. Just because it's like, okay, there are things that I can do for you to show that I'm not at, but it does help you that if you're able to find those situations to sit there and say, I'm not just out here in the clouds flying at 10,000 feet. I'm here with you and I'm here to help assist you as much as you're here helping and assist our company or whatever. And then what's my last one that I'm missing? I'm missing
Physical touch.
Physical touch. Again, physical touch. No, high fives.
Yeah,
fist
high
bumps,
five,
handshakes, letting them know that like, hey, I see you in this moment. I'm here to be physically present with you, and I'm here, and I'm not above 10,000 feet. Pats on the back. Again, appropriate pats on the back, that kind of stuff. Make sure that that's something that they're comfortable with, and that kind of stuff. It all just kind of depends, but always something that I've always tried to do. If again, like I said, dab ups, like with my students, but in a more professional setting. But even then, some professional settings are different. So it's like high fives, fist bumps. Those are things that people are like, hell yeah, like they like fist bumps, they like high fives. And if you think that people don't, I swear, just go around high-fiving people and just watch people's faces light up, just being like, high five.
No, it's Chandler's boss and Friends. High five, high five. Everything's a high five, and he's tired of it. But
yeah,
his boss likes
and you
high
can
five.
be tired of it, and don't make it a shtick.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I see some kids, and I'm just like, hey, high five. And they light up. Or like, when a kid does something great and I'm like, yes, let's go. And you give them a high five for that. They think that is like the greatest thing ever. They're just like, yes, there's something about putting a perfunctory note on it. And it's just like,
I would even say in either a moment, well, it doesn't matter what the moment is. If you're trying to punctuate something to a kid, a student, athlete, students is a little difficult, I think. Athletes, I think it's easier because you're out, because it's usually male to male, and that, yes, there's less sexual abuse and anything, but it's also you're out in the public, you're where the parents are, that kind of thing. You're like, it's not in. So, well, let's just agree to this. None of this is sexual. So I don't have to do the caveats.
Yeah,
there are certain young men where it does require you to like put your arm around them and say, hey, it's gonna be all right. Like, it's all right. You know,
yeah,
get past it. Or the opposite. Hey, I just want to say you're doing a hell of a job. I appreciate you. The kids appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. And it's one thing to just say it, but they do actually the embrace. Even it's just an arm. It's not a full hug, but it's just an arm around the shoulder, or it could be a handshake. But just like you said, it's punctuating the actual physical connection. Punctuates what you're trying to say in the moment. So, and if I'm, it's funny. I this book was written in 92. Well, that's about the time I started coaching. That was the time I started coaching. I didn't know anything about the book until my wife and I got married, which I think we would have done counseling in either late 2003 or 2004. So this book was foreign to me. And for whatever reason, I have a very good God-given. I'm emotionally intuitive, so I was very good. I had a lot of weaknesses as a coach, but one of those things that I was very good at was being able to figure out what made kids tick and what didn't. So if I yelled at a kid and I saw him crawl up in a ball and was ineffective for the rest of practice, it was like, okay, that doesn't work with him. Vice versa, just walking up to a certain one kid and telling, like, walking through methodically, like, you need to do this. I've told you 5 or 6 times. This is what you need to do. Frankly, he might be the kind of kid you need to yell at. And it's not because he's dumb. It's just you need to lay into him to get his attention or just to get him mad to focus on what he needs to focus on. And certainly there's kids who don't need words of affirmation. They're out there. They don't give a damn whether or not you think they're doing a good job or not. And there's certain kids who live and die on it. And so you really got to figure out all those different things with the kids. Well, let's take this to the church. I think the church could do, even outside of marriage, I think the church could do a better job with this.
Yeah.
I will make a joke now. Let's put physical touch aside. We're not talking about the Catholic Church or the Southern Baptist Church. So this is having volunteers go through this and or staff who they're working with go through this, I think does create better situations where people are more in volunteer situations that are more conducive to their personality. Now, I will say, I think a lot of people know what they like. So whether or not they know their 4 love languages, they know what to gravitate to. So which one of the reasons why you have men who are ushers is they're more of an active, I would say active they're probably active service. They're not words of affirmation one way or another, so they're not there to give words of affirmation or rely on that. Although some of them are, like, there's certain people who, walk in and they do a very good job of making you feel like you're special for being there.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, so like when I think acts of service, and I can't think of a better example of active service than this guy, is Jay Adams. That guy is active service through and through.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in our friend group and you were like, I want to try and contest him for that title.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I was like, good luck. That guy he sees a need and he fills it. And that fills his tank. Like, that's something. But if somebody told me, and here's actually where I think that words of affirmation works for Jay in ways, and I'm sure psychologists would probably look at it and just be like, well, that's because you're deprived of words of affirmation from that person or whatever. But what I would say is that when Jay gives you a compliment or something like that, you take it.
Oh, yeah.
And you take it to heart because you're just like, those are far and few between for Jay. So it's like when he gives it and you know that it's something that's a bit of a stretch for him or whatever, you're just like, oh, wow, that really means something coming from him and that kind of stuff. So again, that's where I was talking about where it's like, it has to be right. Like, it can't just be you sit there and say, good job, good job, good job, good job, good job. Like, it can't be that fake shit where things happen. Like, one of the things that I can't stand is, and I hope that, and you'll kind of experience it, I don't know how it is with football in high school, because I don't think football in high school, you're required to shake hands at the end of the game.
Oh, the shake hands at the end of the thing. No, football you don't. And so in the smaller squad sports, it's one of the dumbest things ever.
So I have no problem with it.
I mean, I would prefer them to do it than not do it, because it's usually at worst, if it's done well, it diffuses maybe a bad situation that happened during the game.
Well, so girls are the worst. So I actually enjoy shaking the players' hands after the game, no matter if I got beat or whatever, because I like looking a kid in the eyes and sitting there and saying, hey, you did a great job. You're one hell of a player.
Oh, yeah. As a coach,
kind of as a coach, I love that. And I hope that the kids realize that. I don't think they do, because I get reactions from kids. I try to look every kid in the eyes, but I have kids that literally just like won't make eye contact, and I'm just like, okay. And you'll know what I'm talking about this year when you shake hands. You'll be like, what the heck? But then you have those kids where you tell them you're just like, you're fantastic, and they like really like that resonates with them, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you go through and you shake all of their hands. And I think that is something that we should be doing. But the one that I can't stand is the girls. The girls boys do handshakes, which again leads itself to looking at each other and having to say good game to one another. The girls just literally like high five. So they just put their hand up and then like they all go into this expressionless face as they walk by and they're just like, good game, good game, good game, good game. They don't make eye contact. They don't look at anybody. They don't look at the coach. They're just good game, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game. And that's all they do all the way through. I've never seen a girls coach sit there and tell players about how talented they are or how good they are or whatever. But the boys, I've watched lots of coaches sit there and pause at a player or an athlete and sit there and tell them about how great it was to see them compete and that kind of stuff. And I think that that's something that's huge.
Do you coach kids before the handshake? Like, is there time? I don't remember. It's been I went to a couple games last year, but I don't remember the time in between the game ends, everyone drags their ass out of the pool, and then you go handshake. Is there a time for you to huddle up?
We huddle up briefly. And these are the two things that I say at that moment. When we huddle up, I say, you shout the fuck. And I am adamant. You get as loud as you can for that other team, because as a part of a sportsmanship in water polo is you cheer for the other team. So you say 1, 2, 3, and you shout the other team's mascot or their school name. And I hate it when people get weak as fuck with that shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. They played a good ass game against you. They beat your ass, or we beat their ass, but they played their heart out. Everybody that we play plays their heart out. I don't give a damn. And so you sit there and you show respect to that team by sitting there and you cheer for them. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. And then I've had athletes come out of the pool and they say, I'm not shaking so-and-so's hand. I'm not shaking 17's hand, or I'm not shaking 12's hand. And I say, the fuck you aren't. You're shaking everybody's hand out there. Because at the end of the day, this is a game. I was like, they may have played dirty or whatever, but we need to sit there and say, it's all good.
Yeah.
We're better moving forward for this. I've had to have that conversation several times, and
Good.
I want it out of my program that I have to have that conversation. But but we got an athlete that's very passionate, and you'll get to coach him. He's a fantastic athlete. But he came out one game, and he's like, he was very passionate about the game. It was the Sierra Pacific game. And he knew what it meant for that to be his last game, and for that last moment, he's like, I'm not shaking any of their hands. He's crying, because he had been fully ejected from the game at that point. And he was like, I'm not shaking any of their hands. And I was like, calm down. You're going to shake everybody's hand. But we're trying to raise kids. At the end of the day, we got to teach them, there are things beyond this game that are much more important. And I know that it meant this is your last game that you're ever going to play with these seniors and with this group of kids and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, but.
One of the best moves I ever saw, and it was something I always thought about doing. It was after I was coaching, and it was always when I was watching a college or pro game. I was like, if I was the coach, I'd go do this. Jeff was playing flag football, and I was the head coach, and we got off to a rough start because I couldn't figure out, the kid. We had quarterback issues. The kid who should be quarterback. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It took a long time to figure out, to get things to gel for this team. And luckily, the way the flag football season worked was you played a regular season, and then the regular season basically seeded you for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And everyone made the playoffs. So basically, you played a regular season, but then there was one tournament on a Saturday or Sunday, and you played the tournament, and that tournament actually won everything. And so the first game we played, we lost. This is not 15-year past exaggeration. We lost 80-0 or something. The team we played was a machine. This guy had been coaching flag football for years. So, and part of it was I'm taking tackle football passing schemes to flag football and trying to translate them to 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
So I'm having to dumb things down and figure out, that doesn't quite work here. And then flag football can get really gimmicky and work really well. Whereas in tackle football, you're that play would never work. So you have to kind of tell yourself well, the rules work for you. Anyway, we get destroyed by this team. We get to the end of the regular season. I think somehow we didn't play them right away. Even though anyway, we got to we had the worst or second to worst record. No, we were winless, I think, somehow. Anyway, we go all the way through the tournament and play these guys, the team that destroyed us at the beginning of the season, play them in the championship game, and give them the
business.
fight of their life, and they barely win.
Yeah.
And our kids are all upset, and everyone was fine. They were shaking hands and all that kind of stuff. And I brought the kids over, and I'm doing my best, to tell an 8-year-old that you have no idea how proud you should be, because we went from the absolute shittiest team. And I'm telling him this. I'm like, you guys lost. You guys remember, like, a month ago, we lost to that team. 2 months ago, like, we got killed. We didn't score a point. They scored every time they touched it. And they thought we were going to beat them 5 minutes ago, and they barely beat us. And you know what? The head coach of that team walked over, congratulated all those kids, and in front of them looked at me and said, I don't know what you did, but that's the best coaching job I've ever seen, and you guys did everything he asked of you, and you should all be proud of yourselves. And his kids are all over there still celebrating with the trophy. The parents are all, and I was like, that's cool. And we need more of that, where, like, you upset the team. You're the Lakers and you upset Oklahoma City. That's a baller move to be, your team's in there pissed off in the locker room or heartbroken, but to walk over and be like, I just want to say respect to you guys. You had no chance. Everyone said you had no chance of winning. And those are the moments where sports are just great. And I don't think, it's always, we lean more into, we were way better than you were. And I have never understood that. Like, if you want to beat someone that you respect and is hard to beat. Those wins are more valuable than we kicked your ass.
You can't beat Oklahoma City when the refs are giving you their whistles. So. And also, by the way, I'm not taking away from. I'm kind of on the Steve Kerr train, where I'm not taking anything away from how talented that group is. Like, I'm not doing that at all. I think that was always going to be an uphill battle, by the way, for anybody that's sitting there talking about the NBA. If you want to talk NBA, but. Yes, I do think that LeBron James is a crybaby.
Yeah.
But I'm not somebody who has watched all games in that series, but I have seen comparable highlights in that series, and you're just like, oh, that was called interesting, or that wasn't called.
I don't know. I saw one last night where LeBron fell and threw the ball up and scored, and they called a foul even though he just tripped, and they gave him a third shot. So.
Yeah, but did you see the Austin Reeves foul, which I didn't think was a foul? No. Okay, so Austin Reeves drives in, and they don't give him the foul, and he's upset. But then, like, 2 plays later, somebody's playing defense, so Austin Reeves charges in, and they don't give the foul. That's fine. But then they give Oklahoma City an even softer foul than what Austin Reeves wanted. And that's the whole thing with, like, LeBron James, where it was like, okay, so yeah, he's wanting this foul and you don't give it, which thank goodness you don't give it.
Right. I
have no problem with that. But then why are you giving in on the other end? Or to something that's even softer?
I think this is a real aside to pop. I think the refs right now are actually starting to punish the complainers. I think they've had enough of it because the league won't do anything about it.
Which is crazy. So you're just like, all right, we're just going to keep giving Oklahoma City whatever they want? Because that's where it's like Oklahoma City free throw farms. Like their star player averages 25 free throws a game.
Yeah, well, don't get me started on the monitor.
So I'm like,
but I do stand by when you've got 2 of the bigger complainers in the league with LeBron, and even though he wasn't playing,
I agree.
What's his name? The white dude, the Croatian,
Doncic,
who's the biggest complainer in the world. I think after you start tainting the referee pool, and they're just like, I don't want to hear it.
I'm not defending either of those two, but I do think that that Oklahoma City has figured something out, and that's where, like I said, I'm on the Steve Kerr train, where he's like, I have nothing against the players. I have an issue with the NBA and the officiating, and not the officials themselves. But the NBA needs to sit there and say, is this a foul or is this not? And we need to crack down on whether it's a foul or if it's not. And they need to.
Yeah, that's the whole. I think the court's too small. They don't have enough refs. you need a fourth ref.
I don't mind, but so what's his name from Oklahoma City likes to do a push off stiff arm kind of thing, and then
SGA. Oh
yeah,
SGA
and then
does
do a
push-off.
lean in, and it's like you initiated contact, pushed off, and then that's like his bread and butter to then get his. And so
well,
it's like
they were supposed to regulate out the jumping into on the jump shot, which I think they did a lot this year. Although I thought I saw it last night.
I think his move that he does works around that rule to where it's like, oh, we've initiated contact.
Yeah.
So that's what's caused a lot of issues. So like I said, I agree. I agree.
When I was a kid, if you drove with your elbow up and you initiated contact, that was a charge. But that's not the case anymore. But also, we didn't dribble the way they do, so it's just, I don't know. That's my problem with Steve Kerr as well. There's a whole lot of other things that you do allow. So,
also, by the way,
anyway,
I have no problem with the broadcast talking about Paul Skeens right now, saying that he pitched a gem and he had like such and such consecutive strikeouts. Oh, okay. Well, that sums up the Pirates right there. Because I think that broke up a no-hitter. Well, that definitely broke up a no-hitter because that's a blooper. Oh, no. That one he catches. I don't have a problem with that, but also you're playing the Rockies. They're just like, yeah, it's this many consecutive strikeouts. The Rockies ended with 4 hits. Anyways, so sorry for the distraction from the love languages. My bad. That's all me. You sent me on a Lakers tangent.
Yeah, I was just saying. I think, and you might see it a couple times. Even an assistant coach may do that, where I go over to the other team and say, "Hey, just want to say that was a heck of a game," because I think there's even more of that, and I think coaches need to see it from other coaches also to like.
I think there are benefits to all people knowing what the love languages are and how to express them to other people. And so, like when I go through and I give a handshake and eye contact and a compliment to all these athletes, I'm hitting 2 of the 5, right? Like I'm sitting there and I'm giving a words of affirmation, and like there's a lot of times like when I go through and I shake all the athletes' hands, I stop. So like it's normally like a walkthrough, like everybody walks, but I stop moving because I want to take time.
Right.
I don't want to keep moving because they're moving, I'm moving. No, I want to stop and I want to be genuine with this kid for a minute or two, or for a second or two. And I think that goes a long way. The kid, if a coach would have done that to me when I was in high school, that would have friggin' sent me through the roof. Just like, wow, this guy thinks something of me. Like.
Well, that's one of the most endearing things about NHL playoff hockey is that at the end of this series, these guys are all, they've been going at it. In some cases, 7 games, they've been bloodying each other up. And 9 times out of 10, it's all respect when it's coming through. And you can tell, usually the best guy on the other team who lost gets a couple hearty handshakes from the defender who had to defend him, or the star player on the other side, and the head coach. And you'll see goalies who lost on a game-winning shot get an attaboy from the guy who shot it, or the head coach, and just be like, you played a hell of a game. And I think sports needs a lot of that. Football has their handshake in NFL, college also, but it's not.
But you don't go through and you don't shake.
It's everyone going up
hand.
and shaking hands with guys they played in high school.
You go see your buddy, or you go see somebody that you respect, and you go and you give them a handshake or whatever. But you can avoid people if you want.
Sure.
And so that's fine. Some have even made it into a conflict issue where they go and they find somebody that they want to have words with and whatnot. But yeah, I think there's something to it. I mean, I think that when we get into why it's important and what it does, and especially as a coach, again, I view it from the perspective of love languages, where it's, again, this is something that's important to this athlete at this time, because at the end of the day, I love growing my own athletes, but I want to see the sport grow, and I want to see other athletes do well. I want to win.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what's the important part? The important part is that these kids feel valued and understood and have an opportunity to express themselves in this moment, in this sport. And so giving them that love and affirmation in that, I think is the most important thing. And I have to put things aside sometimes because especially when they've hurt some of my players, it's very difficult.
Just take this back to business. I think I agree with you that this is important.
I think business owners should absolutely.
Well, but the problem is, and I can say this as someone who's not had an office since 2005, 2006. During COVID, businesses were rushing to, this is going to be great for everyone to work remotely, and we're going to have more time, and all this nonsense that wasn't true. People were not more productive; they were less productive because it does matter to have, even at 45, you need to have a boss kind of looking over your shoulder to make sure you're getting work done. It's really easy to get distracted, particularly this day and age on a digital device. But one of the first things I said was, you know what, they're going to regret a lot of these companies, particularly ones that are artistic or collaborative, like a ad agency. I don't know any way you could, as an ad agency, work remotely. But even as a software company where a lot of work is collaborative, I remember telling people they're going to regret it. They're going to regret it because you lack the ability to just stand up and walk 10 feet down the office into somebody else's office and say, hey, how about we try this thing? And then you spitball it for 2 hours and then you solve this problem that's been a problem for a while. But to this conversation, you also miss out on, it's hard to do most of any, I will say it is, I have to be very intentional. And most of the time I don't do a good job of doing a lot of these things because I rarely meet these people individually, which is why going to the races, the people who really I have great relationships with are the people who I see 2 or 3 times a year because they're local. This meeting we had at the Super Bowl with the photographers attested to that, where they were just like, this is great, this is awesome. And so it verified what I already knew, which is at some point I need to get out and be able to travel and meet people in order to just being in the room with somebody for 2 hours just strengthens the relationship.
I think it strengthens relationship. I think that one of the best things that I've ever seen from my time working with people, working under people, and I don't think that it was something that worked for me necessarily, but they did ask, and it wasn't like a love languages question, but it was at the same time. So they asked, like, how do you like to be told that you're doing a good job? Like, what works for you?
Oh, yeah. It's basically.
And so they put out that question. And so some people were like, I like it when you write it down, or I like it when you tell me explicitly. I put in mine because everybody had to put it down. I said, and I'm not a physical touch person, but within the context of the job, like, I know that people are busy. Like, so for me, I was a high five and a fist bump. Like, I was like, if I'm doing a great job and you see me, like, give me a high five and just say, hey, like, doing a great job. And I'd be like, thanks, dude. Like, that works for me. And it's not because I'm a physical person. It's because you said you're doing a great job. Like, if you just randomly were just like high five in the hallway, I'd be like, like I awkwardly put a hand up to yours and be like, okay. But it's the good job accompanied with that aspect of you came out of your way to come and say this to me, and the high five therefore solidifies it. So I'm more the physical, in-person words of affirmation person, but some people like it written down where it's like, hey, I think that you're doing a great job. And that for those people that are that way, those are the easiest people to please. And if you're one of those people, you're just like, yeah, it's literally that easy to please me. You could just send me an email that just sits there and says, I am doing great. But I think that, like, to you, one of the things that you show, so like as somebody who's been on NASCAR trips with you before, you're throwing you provide a meal for your staff, that kind of stuff, where again, you are constantly trying to do these acts of services. Here, everybody, enjoy my liquor that I brought or my beers that I've brought. And I mean, like, for those of you that are like, oh, like, no, like, Tim is trying to throw a party. He's trying to throw something to sit there and say,
And
hey,
it's with people I know that are going to enjoy it. So
yeah, exactly. With those intentions behind it. And everybody's invited. And if you don't show up, that's fine. No big deal. But know that you're always invited and you're always welcome. And this is where we get to sit there and talk. And this is where Tim is able to give you quality time and able to talk with you. And he's very intentional about going around to his photographers and checking in on how their life is and how things are going. So he's doing acts of service. He's doing quality time.
There is one in particular I have to do words of affirmation because
Tim is very good at words of affirmation. I don't know if I'm not saying that Tim's never done it for them. He's done it occasionally, and I have seen it. And I'm not saying this is where this is not something that I'm challenging Tim on to do forward, but also, and Tim could probably defend himself on whatever, but I have seen on occasion, but I don't see it all the time, where he's been very adamant about talking about how good his photographers are in certain aspects of their job and what they do really well. So he's really good at complimenting like Will. He's the best in the business. And I've seen him openly address Will as being one of the best in the room, kind of thing. And I don't know who your staff is, but there may be somebody in your staff in your photography staff that wants that same kind of compliment. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it just means that there might be somebody that wants that same kind of recognition eventually someday or whatever. And so I've seen Tim do all of these things. And so I think that it's important that we try to be more intentional with that, especially because we all want to feel loved and we all want to feel recognized and acknowledged in moments in our lives, as far as with our significant others, within our careers, and with our friends. One of the things, so Nolan is a words of affirmation person. Nolan and I have always been, Nolan and I are very similar in lots of ways, but Nolan is also a words of affirmation person. And so if he doesn't hear compliments regularly, he feels like you don't like him. He'll get that way. And so for me, I'm always openly extremely sarcastic. And so I'm not always quick with a compliment. And of anything, it's probably more degrading things that I'm more likely to say, with no malice behind them. But if I'm not sitting there and saying nice things regularly, then that can be all right, Colton's just a prick,
Right.
and I get that. And so that's where, again, we have to be mindful of each other and sit there and say, oh, that's right, I shouldn't do that. And I need to be more intentional about it. And we can sit there and say, oh, they can just stop being a wuss and just get over it or whatever. But at the end of the day, no, we all want to feel loved and we all want to feel appreciated. And we all know that people, I know that my wife loves me and I know that my friends love me. But at the end of the day, we still want to feel it. It's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to feel it.
Well, I agree. And I think even within, I don't know, maybe this is a human trait. I think it's a particularly American trait. Because as much as America wants to claim it's a Judeo-Christian country, it is in many ways. We've talked about this. But in a lot of ways, even if you're a lefty, you're also very much a capitalist. And by that, I mean, I think earned has become too much of a reason, or too much of everything has to be earned. And going back to the coaching or the friendship thing, well, even in whatever relationship, well, I'll use coaching because that's an easy one. Or no, I'll use the business one. You mentioned Will. Will's a fantastic photographer. I don't tell him that because I don't get the sense he needs affirmation. He doesn't care. I let him know because I want him to know what I think about it. I have other photographers. I'm not talking specifically about one of my NASCAR teams. There are certain photographers, and I think this applies to you if you're in a business or on a sports team or whatever. There are certain people that haven't necessarily earned the praise you're giving them, but they need it in order to get propelled to the next level and do better. And so this isn't a thing where, I don't feel like they've loved me like in a marriage thing, or, you're doing it because to take this to the Christian to take this to the heart of the Christian thing, we do these things not because they're earned. At the end of the day, even though they can be used as tools in business in an intentional way in business or your children or on a sports team, you can use these things intentionally to try to increase productivity or maximize potential. At the end of the day, we're doing these things because we love our neighbor as ourselves, and we're just doing that in order to make them feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so it's important to know what we need to do. Again, it's not a thing where they've earned it, like, oh, your wife made a fantastic meal and she makes one every night and you feel like you've got to tell her. But the night she doesn't, or certainly like I'm not, the giving the gifts, you're simply doing it because that's how they feel appreciated, and we want to feel appreciated or loved. And so it's not an earned thing for sure. I think we've hit on most things. I will say, you have anything else in terms of explaining?
I don't think so.
I will just for rounding out the conversation, there's been some some parts of the academic community don't like the love languages thing. They think it's bunk. I read the what do you call it? It's the summary, but they have a special word for it. It's the executive summary, but that's not the word for it. It's like a 1-page synopsis, but synopsis isn't the word either. Anyway, of someone who they did a study back in the 2000s trying to study it. Oh, no. It was published in 2017, this one. And they studied 67 heterosexual couples, and they found no evidence that synchronized love languages correlated with relationship satisfaction. I would just say, as someone who just took basic statistics at UCLA, 67 couples, I don't find very definitive on empirical evidence. So, maybe add another 500 couples and then maybe we can talk, but I don't see how that's...
Maybe add another 5,000
67
couples.
Isn't really empirical, so I don't know how that made it into the Journal of Personal Relationships. But I have a lot of complaints about quote-unquote peer-reviewed studies anyway, so this is just kind of the lay of the land. In fact, and I saw one study that didn't agree with it, and they said that it was I'm paraphrasing, but it was nonsense to say that a person has one love language. And I'm like, I don't think you have read the book. There's nothing in the book that says one love language.
No.
It says there might be a dominant one. There's probably a dominant one.
Yeah, you probably have a dominant one.
But there's not one. You have one and probably two smaller ones. And it might be just one that you don't have.
Yeah, you can experience multiple, but there's one that you lean towards and that you definitely like bait towards. It's not like, again, you can have all of these float your boat, but there's one that's usually your dominant. And then like I said, there's usually, it doesn't mean that there is, but there is usually one where you're just like, yeah, I could go without that and I would be just fine.
Right. There were some other studies by academics who seemed like what one of them said, they said that the love language seemed to have some degree of psychometric validity. That's the phrase they use. This is one of those where I don't need academia to do a study about it. It just makes intuitive sense. A guy stumbled upon something. Is it a perfect science? No. Could you maybe, although we read the 7 ones and that just seemed to muddy it up. I think this guy intuitively stumbled upon something that makes sense. Is it a rule? No, it's not like the composition of oxygen or how gravity works. But it's one of these things where you don't need a study to confirm it or not. It's a non-scientific, just general notion that works within pop psychology.
Yep.
And I think it is, let's give a caveat. Once you get to the point where you know what your love languages are, and I think this is discussed in the book, or if you have a really good pastor or counselor who's walking you through the book, it's got to be pointed out. Knowing the love languages does not give you an excuse to use that as leverage on your partner or the other person. So if, let's say they do something that's not one of your love languages, don't use that excuse. So that's not one of my love languages, and you blah 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 blah.
No, but it does allow you to sit there and say, I think it helps you approach a healthy conversation.
Oh, if you're being completely neglected, if like you've married someone, you've done the thing, that person knows.
So
You like being told, thank you for cleaning the house and then the dinner. It was very much appreciated, and I value everything. Like, and that needs to be heard on a regular basis and not canned, but spontaneous. Heartfelt and spontaneous. You're not giving that to the other person. Yes, it's fair for them for you to sit down and say, like, hey, I know you're out of work all day long, and I'm here with the kids, and blah, 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 and I know you don't complain, and I know you value me, but just so you know, every once in a while, I need to hear I'm doing a good job, or you appreciate what I'm doing. That's fine.
You are literally, that's literally a conversation that I've had to have with my wife. So my wife, my wife and I are, our opposites are each other's love languages, which is difficult. So Audrey is a physical touch. That's her jam. And that is my I could do without. I am a words of affirmation, and that's Audrey's she could do without. And we've had to navigate that, where it's like, okay, how do we find the space to be able to do that for each other? And it's very difficult, but knowing those things makes it easier for us to have those conversations. I know what her, and to where she's like, if she were to sit there and say, I need a back rub, or I need you to sit on the couch with me and hold me, or whatever, is where it's like, okay. And I'm uncomfortable and awkward about it because, like, that's not my jam. But it's like, I want her to feel loved. And so I know that when I'm trying to show affection to my wife, that I need to do those things, because that's how I get the message across. If I want her to know that I love her, that's how I have to message. That's how I have to get the message across. And Audrey also has to work against that as well, to where it's just like, she'll like rub my back or something, and I'm just like, okay, like, stop touching me. And for some of you, you're like, what? Like, you would like, and Tim's laughing because, like, again, I wince at it. Like, I'm just like, don't touch me. And not like, again, I try to emphasize that this is not like an autistic, like, don't touch me, but it's just like, it's hot, like that. No, stop. It's just not my jam. So for her, she has to sit there and like I said, like, she has to be intentional about, thank you for doing the laundry. I really appreciate that. And I'm just like, you're welcome. Like, and that's like, oh yeah, thank you for acknowledging that I did the laundry. Thank you for acknowledging that I changed Reese's poopy diaper 3 times today, or whatever, where she's just, or she sits there and just simply says, you're a great dad. Like, that is just like, all right, I'm going to live off of those endorphins for the next 5 days, like, again, that's something that proves that. But we've had to have several conversations about where it's like, okay, we need to be intentional with each other about how we go about this. And I know that this is a work for you and it's a work for me. We're going to get through it. And this is how we're going to do it. So, I don't know.
I think in marriage, it's particularly important, but I think, again, we've applied this to other things. I think, though, this this is why it's an effective tool, because
I think it's
because I think you say you guys are having, you have to have conversations about it. I'm going to assume it's not always a conversation. You've had to have conversations, but the process of you two yin and yanging, so to speak, makes both of you better, so that her lack, like, one could argue, like, yeah, you have a bit of a character flaw where you won't share affirmation, like, that would make you a little bit more rounded, better person. Same thing with you, like, okay, take a handshake, perfect, workplace. the guy who doesn't want to give a handshake or a dap, or when he gives one, it's a limp thing because it's like, no, and I don't like touching. Okay, well, how about you get over whatever your little thing is and just like 3 times a day, give the boss who likes a handshake a hearty handshake and look him in the eye, and there's your physical touch for the day. But it might make you a little more rounded person and not so like rigid on like, nope, I like my things this way. And so I think it makes us work on, yeah, maybe I need to work on that a little bit more.
Yep.
So, and that's where, again, you can't say like, oh, that's not my love language, and so I'm not good at it, or keep going out of your way to tell someone like, that's my love language, and you're not doing it. I think you're right. The other way is that's not my love language, and so I have a pass for not doing it. It's like, nope. Even if they're when you're opposite, for sure, you have to be like, all right, this is one of those die to self moments that Jesus was talking about.
Yep.
And I need to be sacrificial here and do the thing I don't want to do in order to maximize the relationship I have here that I value. So,
Yep.
And again, I think before Mr. What's his name? Chapman's book, I think this is a good way of just kind of like, yeah, in a very pop culture, but I think effective way.
Well, again, I think that this is so the reason why this falls under the umbrella of Christianese is that, again, this was something that until probably the last 10 years started creeping its way into pop culture, where lots of people were where now therapists, psychologists, secular.
I hear it referenced in raunchy rom-coms or just romantic,
yeah, but again,
TV
it didn't start that way. It
No.
was originally
correct.
And now
it's made it into general.
And why I say that it's Christianese is that now pastors will just like openly sit there and just say, yeah, your love languages.
Correct.
At any given moment, they're just expecting you to understand what they're talking about when they say that. Or you may even hear about it in pop culture and they're just like, yeah, your love languages. And that's why I was like, that's something that we should probably talk about, where it's like, what are we actually talking about? And then what are the applications of it? And we can see that it's far beyond just a relationship that you have with your intimate partner. It's something that exists in the workplace, with your friends, with anybody really that you interact with.
Well, it's interesting. I can't think of anything specific, but I can guarantee you, anytime I've heard love languages used as a reference in a secular setting, it's always as, these are my love languages. Like, it's very selfish. It's thrown out there as a way of you making me feel good. And I'm sure if you asked anybody who was the actor who delivered the line or the writer who inserted that in there, they wouldn't be able to mention any of the 5 love languages. They just know about love languages and they know kind of what it is, but they don't actually know what the love language. And I'm not like throwing shade at them, like, how dare they quote something that's not my point. My point is, but that they don't understand really what is being referenced when they make that joke, which is, again, why you brought it up. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good point, because I think this is just kind of thrown out there. And whether you're a Christian or you're not, you're probably like, okay, I generally know what that is. It's like something that's supposed to make me feel good, but I don't really know what it is. So here we are. We just broke it down. We spent an hour breaking down what it is and why it's important.
There's a comedian magician in Las Vegas that calls women up on stage and asks them what their love language is. And what's so funny is that the women have like no idea what the question is. And then, or some have originally given an answer, and then he's like, no, it's physical gifts, and it's gifts, and then they're like, no, it's not, and he's like, no, it's gifts, and they're like, okay, it's gifts, and then he's like, what was the last gift he bought you? And so basically, it's this whole moment where he puts the guy on blast that they're at the show with. But it just makes for a moment. But it's really funny that he asks them what their love language is, and then if they give him a funny look, he's like, "It's physical gifts, it's gifts, say gifts," and they're like, "Gifts," and he's like, "Oh, okay. What was the last gift he bought you?" And so it's funny, and so yeah, I think that that's something where it's like, I think that everybody should be aware of it. because I do think it's beneficial to any relationship that you ever have. Like, even I talked about it with Nolan tonight, where Nolan's my best friend, and I need to know how my best friend ticks and what makes him feel like we are friends. Is that so? Anything else, or are we beating a dead horse at
I think we're good. I think that's I think we knocked that out of the park. Or banked that shot in on the back of the goalie is what happened tonight. Or last night.
That's crazy.
Whenever that game was.
I think that was earlier today.
Yeah, it was. That's right. It was. I saw the early part of that. All right. Well, we thank you for listening in this episode of the Go to Hell podcast. And this used to be so easy for me. I don't know. Just go to hell. Whatever.
If you don't like the rooster, you can go to hell.
Oh, there you go. Damn. Yeah, if you don't like the rooster, okay, there you go. If you don't like the rooster, definitely go to hell. Might have to drop that in at the end of the podcast, see if we get away with at least the beginning. Ain't found a way to kill me yet.